Welcome to Northern Powerhouses, our business success story series of interviews where we discuss with local business leaders, their backgrounds, their successes and challenges, and what really drives them forwards. And today I'm really delighted to have with us Tom Dibble-Burge, who's a director at Answer Digital. And firstly, Tom, thank you so much for coming on board. But if you'd like to introduce yourself and Answer Digital and let us know what you do and how you help your clients, that would be great.
Brilliant, thank you, Chris, and thanks for inviting me along to be part of the series. So Tom Dibble-Burge, director at Answer Digital. I was delighted to join the organisation back in July last year. We're a technology and digital consultancy that works with a wide range of clients across public and private sector to enable them and to help them deliver digital and technology transformation. Whether that be software development, whether that be digital design, whether it be running a technology service on their behalf, a full range of consulting capabilities that we offer and deliver into those and with those clients.
Wonderful. And I think you were mentioning at one point we were described as Leeds' best kept secret. Is that?
Yeah, absolutely. So Leeds and I guess fits nicely with the Northern Powerhouse. There is a real glut of technology and digital consultancies in the region. A number of our competitors were founded and formed in the region. A lot of the work that we're doing at the moment, a lot of the growth that we're going through, some of that is about having the opportunity for us to go and talk to people about the great work that we've already done and are doing today, and talk a little bit about some of the exciting projects that we have coming up in the future as well. So for us, it's a really exciting time, and certainly part of my remit is to try and not keep us remained as Leeds' best kept secret.
Wonderful. So if you mind, could you tell us a little bit about your background, how you got into business and why this particular one?
Yeah, absolutely. So going way back when, I guess I had the classic, didn't really know what I wanted to do with my career and my life. And we'll get onto that in a little bit, I'm sure. But my career took me from working for an investment bank. So my first sort of real job, if you like, was working for the Bank of New York. Sadly, not in New York, in London, but working in their capital markets division in the middle office there. So from a career aspect, thrown in at the deep end a little bit going into that environment. So I worked for a couple of years there, then moved into the software space. So I went to work for a couple of sort of large US-based software organizations, again, primarily focused around financial services and banking. And then the last sort of 6 or 7 years has moved more into the services side of the business. So kind of, to some extent, done the business domain, spent some time looking at software, and then moving into the services side and consulting side of the business. So for the last 6 or 7 years, been working in a couple of different consultancies. And really, again, if you'd have asked me 10, 15 years ago, if I was going to be a salesperson or looking at marketing or any of that sort of stuff, I'd have probably fallen off my chair. So it's very much something that I've kind of morphed into over a number of years. And for me, the opportunity with Answer Digital was incredibly compelling. The opportunity to come in and join an organisation that at a really exciting stage of its growth and development, but also personally the opportunity to step up into a director role, to join the board of an organisation, again, was both incredibly exciting, slightly scary, and also challenging. But for me, it was a real great opportunity. And finally, I guess the ultimate reason for me joining was because I felt I could make a difference to the organisation. Coming in that role with the organisation in the stage that it was, I really felt that there was some things that I could offer and kind of bring to the table. That hopefully over the next couple of years we'll see come to fruition.
Brilliant, fantastic. And when you were growing up, was this the sort of thing you always wanted to do, or you said it was sort of not sure at the early doors? But yeah,
so I think the simple answer is no. So I'm very much a failed footballer, cricketer, or golfer, depending on which day of the week it was. So when I was at school and even at college, I was still set on being one of those three professionally. Sadly, that didn't manifest itself. So then and I still remember actually going back to my last year at senior school. So when I was 15, 16, you got called into the careers office, and and they said to me, right, what do you want to be when you grow up? And my answer was, well, I want to work at a leisure centre, because it was around sport and fitness and everything else. And I just remember my head teacher at the time kind of looking at me and saying, you might want to think, about some other alternative options. But yeah, didn't really have anything beyond that. Got to college, and I guess what was interesting for me at college was being introduced to sort of some of the business concepts, so economics, accounting, business studies, and that kind of really, opened up my eyes for away from being just sort of an academic exercise, if you like, into right, actually, how are these leveraged in the real world?
Yep.
So that led me onto university to my degree in accounting and law, and then I guess I was lucky, or it depends how you describe it. So my third year at university was a year in industry, so I got to go and work for an investment bank, and that kind of really focused the mind in terms of right, kind of all this learning that I've done at school, all these things that I've done, actually this is what it can look like in the real world, and this is the opportunity that it gives me. So despite still dreaming about being a player for Tottenham, or playing cricket for England, I'm quite happy and content in terms of where I've got to at the moment.
Brilliant. It's funny where life takes us, isn't it? It really is.
It is.
It's just, and I just lead to that career. Wow. So it's sport, accounting, law, banking, and software. Absolutely fantastic. So I guess personally, and as an organisation, what looking back a little bit, what are some of the biggest issues you've had to overcome?
I think it's a great question, and I thought sort of long and hard about this before the session today. So I think personally, one of the biggest challenges that I certainly had to overcome was when I moved into the software space. So at that point in time, I was mid-20s, and I accelerated through the organisation fairly rapidly to a point where at the age of sort of 25, 26, I was made into a role where I was responsible for a team of about 20, 25 people, all of whom were significantly older than me, so people, mid-30s, mid-40s, mid-50s. And I kind of never really been given any training or any leadership or any coaching around, right, this is how you should manage people. So, quite quickly, things started to grate. People weren't happy with the way that I was doing things. I wasn't happy with the way that people were responding to my leadership. So I think, but for me, one of the issues there was, just because you're more senior doesn't mean that you're immediately capable of managing people and teams and understanding people. So that was, one of the biggest issues I personally had to overcome. And I think, it's something I continue to do today. I think, the other side of that, and we can never get away from it, is kind of the macro or economic events that happen. Not too long into my career at the investment bank, you had the financial crisis. Looking ahead to where we are now, we've also had the pandemic over the last few years. Obviously, Brexit, we've got the war in Ukraine at the moment, kind of all those things, which, fundamentally, seem like these massive things that couldn't possibly, impact us on a day-to-day basis, but they do. And certainly, again, certainly, I guess the position I find myself in with Answer now is, we have to respond to these types of things, and we have to be able to sort of manage these sort of bigger events and sort of anticipate the impact that they have on us. So I think, personally, the sort of learning and growing and developing side, and then from an Answer digital or business perspective, it's kind of how do we manage those events which are completely outside of our control?
No, I completely agree. And I said to a few people, I think these last sort of 3 or 4 years, with those 3 massive events, it's probably going to be the most sort of disruptive time in our sort of social economic lifetimes, and for quite a while, I suspect. Hopefully that's 3 and we're done. Let's hope there isn't a 4th, but I completely agree. And I am slightly interested because my background was as a software engineer going back a very, very long time ago, and I remember having to go from into a management leadership role meant I was going to lose my skills. And I remember that was a big decision to make because, software development skills then, and I'm sure, I suspect even now, they degrade so quickly. So, having to say, right, I'll no longer do that. I'm going to lose something that I've built a career on so far. Did you have to go through that, and how did you feel about it?
Yeah, there's a little bit of that, and again, it's one of the challenges that we have as an organisation. we are a people company. You know, our product is our people, and you know, we want to create an environment where the people can be the best they can be, which naturally means, you know, looking after our people and having all the structures and everything in place to enable that, which in turn means a level of management and oversight and leadership and everything else. So it's a constant kind of play off really between allowing people the time to maintain their skills and develop their skills from a execution perspective versus, you know, management and leadership. And I think there's a couple of things that we do there. So one is, you know, going back to, I guess, the mistake that was put onto me, if you like, which was by moving someone into a more senior role, you assume that they're equipped to manage people and want to manage people. So I think, you know, we're always very open about that as an organization and making sure that, you know, it's what people want to do. And then secondly, yeah, you're absolutely right. You know, the technology and software development space, you know, continue to evolve rapidly in terms of skills, capabilities, and so forth. So, you know, us being able to offer all of our staff and our people the opportunity to continue to learn and develop and put time aside for professional development, you know, right down from, you know, the board ourselves in terms of, you know, are we equipping ourselves with everything that we need to be successful, right the way down to our academies that we run, you know, have people coming either through career changes or out of university or, you know, whatever it might be, joining the organization early in their careers. So yeah, I guess we try to cover both as best we can.
Brilliant. And go back to what you said. I mean, it is the sort of biggest fallacy. We certainly see it in sales, but it's true across the board that just being good at what we do doesn't mean we're great being a manager of what we do without a level of skill. Doesn't mean we can't, but it doesn't mean we just naturally will. And just because we know how to do the work doesn't mean we know how to manage other people to do the work.
Yeah, absolutely. It's it's a different beast in a good sense.
Very different beast. And if we're really good at what we do, we tend to, if we're not careful, fall into the trap of doing it for them, because it's like, well, I could probably do that quicker than I could manage or teach you to do it. And it's the biggest trap I see many businesses fall into is that they're not equipping their team with the management leadership skills that they need to be able to do, because it's just a different discipline.
Yeah, completely. And you know, it's something that's very apt for us as an organization at the moment. So, you know, I mentioned the growth that we're going through. So, yeah, going back 18 months, we were 40 people in terms of consultants. We're now up to 110, 120, you know, over the course of 18 months. And, you know, as a business, we need to adopt and adapt and think about what that means. So, you know, we recently implemented a new leadership structure. So we called it a capability model, which is similar really. So, you know, a number of people within the business have moved into leadership roles and heading up those capabilities. But exactly what you said, you know, we've had to ensure that in doing that, you know, it's very clear in terms of, right, this is the expectations of the role. You know, this is how we're going to equip you to do that. So here's the training that we're going to provide you, and here's a development plan, if you like, because that's not, you know, just because you moved into a new role isn't kind of the end of the journey, if you like. It's almost the restart. So being very clear about what that looks like, what that means, and how we can support the person through that process. It's been great, you know, for us as a business, and it continues to also challenge us as a board in terms of making sure that, you know, we're empowering people within the organisation to help us grow and help to continue that success story.
Brilliant. No, I think it's great. My first business, we got up to about 100. It was 110, 120 plus contracts, about 150, and the requirement to get the right level of training and management in place is absolutely key. You know, a few, you know, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 people is probably a bit more straightforward, but once you hit that 70, 80, 100 mark, it's so much more complex. So great to you investing. That's wonderful. So what are some of the biggest learnings you've had in business and even in life that over your career so far?
So I think a couple of things. So one, you know, we touched on a little bit there, but I think that desire to keep learning and keep developing yourself is critical, and, you know, would stand you in good stead to kind of have that open mindset and willingness to continue to improve. I think another one which was being discussed quite a bit around sort of social media last week, I think, which was just being sort of willing to ask questions. You know, don't be afraid to challenge people. Don't be afraid to ask why are we doing that, or what have you done there, or, you know, whatever it might be. I think that, you know, that is really, really important. And you know, what comes with that is kind of the willingness or acceptance that you're going to make mistakes.
Yes.
I think, both personally and professionally, I've made many mistakes, but I guess for me, what's key is, do we learn from those? And certainly in a business context, and in a leadership role, do we have the guardrails in place which says, right, we're gonna make a decision here. This is why we're making a decision. And if it goes wrong, we know what the consequences are and how we're going to respond to those. So,
Yep.
I think it can be quite a flippant comment in terms of, willing to make mistakes. But I think, setting yourself up to in a position which means if you do fail, you can learn from that and move on, I think is really key as well.
Brilliant. Totally agree. We're a global organisation, which you may or may not be aware, but our founder, Brad Sugars, is a very, very successful man. He told me quite a long time ago that he's successful as he is because he's made more mistakes than anybody else he knows, not despite, but because, and it's that willingness to try things and accept some things won't work. I think that helps that fast growth. Without it, we limit our growth because if we're afraid to make changes and try things, it's really going to hold us back.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was speaking to Gary Bartlett, so our founder and MD, last week actually, about the very topic. And I won't quote him directly, but he kind of said, for 20 years of the business, and 15 years of that, he wasn't being a leader. So even from the person that founded our organisation and is still MD today, just that humbleness and willingness that we've all got mistakes in us, and in fact it's the way that we better ourselves and better our organisation by being accepting of that. I think is fundamental, really.
Brilliant, wonderful. And we touched on sport, but it's not primarily a sporty question. But obviously, as a coaching organisation, I'm keen to know whether it's in sport, business, or in life in general. Who would be the best coach you've ever had, and why? What would make them so?
I think so. Strangely, the two overlap a little bit. So going back to when I was talking about mid-20s, taking on management of a team of really senior people, I recognised that my sort of leadership capability wasn't in the right place. So I actually reached out and worked with a sports psychologist for a number of months. So someone who'd worked with the GB hockey team and some of the other sports teams, and kind of took a bit of a sports team type approach to kind of how I was managing the business. And for me, that was incredibly challenging and also incredibly interesting. I think often we forget that certainly our business is people, and managing is about people and about emotions and emotional intelligence and all of those sorts of things. So yeah, for me that was a bit of an eye-opener in terms of when you move into a management or leadership position, it's still very much about people and about understanding people and working with people. And I touched on what we do here at Answer, creating an environment where people can be the best. So I guess that was the first one. I think my partner Sarah, I think having someone that's grounded and kind of is away from the day-to-day challenges of business is critical. I think we can all get caught up in the endless emails and messages and social media and whatever. So having someone away from that, where you can almost ask the stupid question, the stupid question is key. And then certainly in my role at Answer, again, for me it was a step up in career progression, having the likes of Gary and some of the other people on the board, so Rich Ellis and Rich Pugmire, who are on the exec board, just having those who have got the experience of the business, have kind of worn some of the war wounds, if you like, of being on a leadership team. Again, it is really key. So, I've always tried throughout my career, to make sure I've got a sounding board, whether that be, professional coaching and leadership, whether that be, personal outside of work, or whether that be, within the workplace.
Brilliant. No, it's fantastic. It was interesting. Was it last? No, not this weekend. The weekend before, they were just talking. I was watching the snooker world final, which is, it's not a massive hobby of mine, but I like to watch it now and again. And they were just talking, how Ronnie O'Sullivan works so closely with a guy called Steve Peters, who's well known as a sports psychologist, and has clearly transformed not his game but his mindset, which has allowed him to play his game so effectively. And it's and he credits him very strongly on that. I know as well. So in any form of, whether it's in coaching or in business, have you picked up any quotes or sayings that you use to fall back on?
So I think, and this one, yeah, so this one comes from my partner, Sarah. So, you know, the idea of never making an important decision when you're hungry, tired, angry, or lonely, I think it's the phrase. I think, you know, I think that's, you know, you can't go far wrong with that. And then, you know, I think in terms of, I wouldn't say there's any quotes per se, but, you know, there's a number of people who certainly have a lot of time for, you know, when they've spoken, or, you know, I think learn a lot from, you know, so number one being Steve Jobs. You know, there's some awesome quotes out there that he's done, you know, that he produced during some of his talks. For me, bringing it back to the sport thing, so Matthew Said, yeah, so the author of Rebel Ideas and Bounce, you know, so what was it UK's #1 table tennis player now turned into, you know, a significant coaching leadership coach. You know, I think he's got some really interesting thoughts and quotes and ideas. And then, you know, bringing it forward to, I guess, to modern day a little bit, you know, Stephen Bartlett, who joined The Apprentice for the last series, again, you know, he's massive on social media, but some of the stuff that he puts out, you know, being one of them, you know, that kind of willingness to ask questions that I referred to, I think, you know, is really, really poignant. So, you know, just a few snippets there, I guess, of people that, you know, certainly have helped guide some of my thinking.
Brilliant. And you know, for me, coaching is all about asking questions. It's not about telling people what to do. That's a different thought. You know, that's different. So coaching very much is asking great questions and being open to being asked great questions that stretch us. And that's fantastic. So what have you learned about yourself over your career?
That is the challenging question. So you know, a lot is the honest answer. I think, you know, almost turn that on its head a little bit. I think self-awareness is key. And again, you know, one of the things when I joined Answer, you know, the leadership team challenged me on there was, you know, you're coming into a board position, a leadership position, you know, are you aware of kind of how you react to certain scenarios? You know, are you aware of, you know, how you engage with people, and, you know, in this particular instance, how you would react to how perhaps, you know, someone else is going to react, and you know, almost putting that level of emotional intelligence on top of everything we do, which, you know, does go right back to what I was saying around kind of the coaching and the team ethic and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, for me, it's been learning that, you know, being a successful leader isn't just about doing a good job. It's about doing a good job with the people around you, with your clients, and bringing all of that together into a sort of coherent ecosystem. So yeah, for me, it's about, you know, continuing to ensure that emotions and people and everything else is at the forefront, you know. And with this week being sort of Mental Health Awareness Week, I think, you know, really brings that into focus. You know, we certainly, you know, as an organization, like any organization, you know, did a huge amount during the pandemic, continues to do a huge amount to support kind of people from a mental health perspective. But, you know, even with all of that, you know, I think we all had challenges at some point or another. So I think, you know, and being aware of that, being, you know, open about that, you know, and being kind of conscious that continues to be a challenge for everyone, as well as yourself, you know, myself is again a key learning for me.
Brilliant. Bang on. I think as you said, mental health for me has been, I think everyone is affected in some way over the last 2 or 3 years with the changes we have, and so being aware of that, I think is so key.
I think, you know, again, bring back the sports side of things, you know, the likes of, you know, Ronnie O'Sullivan, Freddie Flintoff from a cricket perspective, you know, some of the footballers who have come out and, you know, and have spoken very openly and honestly about that, again, I think has helped bring that into the business world. And I think, you know, them supporting that and getting behind that is really, you know, brought it to life a little bit, and has meant that, you know, it becomes much more of a focus within business as well, which is fantastic.
I agree, completely agree. Fantastic. And so looking forward, what does the future look like for yourself and Answer, and what are some of the challenges you might face if any?
So I guess going back, so we're 22 years old as a company now. And when the first iteration, if you like, of Answer Digital was the ultimate people company. So Gary set out with the bar pretty high, I'd say, in terms of, his thinking. So I think that there's two challenges. It's continuing to be the organization we are today that's kind of true to its values in terms of, working with our clients, working collaboratively, delivering, technology and digital excellence, whilst continuing to grow as an organization. I spoke about the growth we've been for over the sort of last 2 to 3 years. 60% growth last year. We're on track to do similar growth this year and looking to do, similar going forward. So, that's not without its challenges, both from a, engaging, winning and delivering work, as, much the challenge is the operational side of the business in terms of, you mentioned it from a training and learning and development perspective. Running an organization of 40 people is fundamentally different to a business of 120 to 150 to 300. So, I think that's some of the challenges that we're going to face. Just how do we continue to develop as a business? And again, a lot of that, from a leadership perspective, has to come back to a willingness that, we have to continue to learn and develop. We have to look to continue to empower the team and be accepting that, as we grow, things will be different. And I think that, for me, one of the really refreshing things about the team at Answer is, we're all accepting of that, all understanding that, going on this journey, things are going to have to change, and there's going to be at times maybe a little bit of uncomfortableness around that. But, back to what I said earlier, putting the guardrails in place, putting, checks and balances in place, which means that, the growth is within what we do. I think, just to support that, one of the nice things about our organisation, so being employee owned, which is a process we went through a couple of years ago, all of this is within our gift as an organisation and as a team of employees. We're actually sort of curtailing our growth at the moment to make sure that we don't lose the essence of what we are as a business and as an organisation. So I think that's that all fits together, but continues to be a challenge. And then as I mentioned earlier, just making sure that we continue to deliver successfully. So during the pandemic, we engaged in some really significant programs with the likes of COVID Pass, London Centre for AI. We're doing some work with the Department of Levelling Up. So really key and significant programs that continue to make a real difference to people. So for us, continuing all of those things, albeit on a bigger scale, is the challenge.
Wow, it's going to be very exciting. I'm very
indeed.
Oh, wonderful. And hopefully we can circle back maybe in a year's time and just see
where we've got to. Like I said, so far so good. But yeah, no doubt we'll have our own challenges and obstacles ahead.
My own personal experience of growth and working with a lot of high growth businesses is, growth comes with a whole bunch of other challenges. They're different challenges to a lack of growth. We sort of get those, but it does, there really are other challenges to deal with. It always feels, I think, for a lot of people outside looking in, oh, that's great, they're growing fast, they must be just absolutely loving it. But it just comes with so many different challenges that need to be addressed.
Yeah, anecdotally, we had our so we do an all-employee event every quarter where we get either virtually or get everyone together. And the event we did at the end of April was the first time we brought everyone back together physically. So when we were planning the event, it was like, we'll get everyone to come into the office, it'll be great, we'll do this and that. And then about 2 weeks before the event, there was we were in a meeting and suddenly we haven't got enough chairs. The last time everyone was in the office, we were like 50 people. Now we're 110, 120 people. So they're just things like that, like you said. And it's a kind of a bit of a joke in telling now, but that's almost an example of the whole plethora of challenges that you have by going through growth.
Absolutely, fantastic. It's just simple things, but they're obviously so key. So just a couple of simple questions as we wrap up. What would you say to anyone that was thinking of going to business right now, Tom?
So I think again, not to echo everything you said before, but I think the concept of, and it's actually one of our core values, which is never stand still. I think you have to be willing to, even if you have the best idea in the world today, someone else will come along tomorrow with another idea. So I think that kind of acceptance that, you know, it's not about stand still, you need to continue to evolve. The demands of your clients will likely, or customers will change. So I think that's one part. But I think the other part to that is, yeah, in going into business is identifying some core values of what you are. You know, I referred to it a little bit there, you know, going right back to when Gary founded Answer 22 years ago. You know, desire there was to be the ultimate people company, you know, to be an organization that works with our clients and provides an environment for people to be the best they can be. And yeah, despite all of that growth, despite all of the reincarnations over 22 years and people that have come and gone, you know, despite the fact we've been through, I think, sort of 2 iterations of our core values over the years, in terms of, you know, they still all align to those, that the idea from the very outset. So I think it's being able to adapt and be accepting of change, whilst, you know, having something core and fundamental that almost grounds you as a business. And something that, you know, the leadership team are invested in, and you know, will continue to drive that message. So for me, I think they're the two things. And then I guess just wrapped around all of that is a little bit of hard work. You know, there's you know, I'd love to have come up with an idea that, you know, it's worth billions, and then, you know, that's job done. But, you know, a lot of this is hard work and requires, you know, a strong leadership team, a good working ethos in that leadership team, and you know, I think, you know, that almost is the glue, if you like, that brings it all together, that enables, you know, businesses to be successful.
Yeah, brilliant. And if you started all over again, is there anything you'd have done different in your career?
Is there anything I've done different? I think that's the $1 million question, isn't it? I think the answer is probably yes, but at the same time, you know, I'm grateful from the experiences that I've had and the learnings that I've gained from that. So it's a yes and no. Yes, in an ideal world, I'm sure, you know, there'd be things that we didn't do, but, you know, I'm a true believer that people are a combination of everything that's happened to them, both personally and professionally, you know, kind of warts and all, if you like, and you know, that makes us into the people that we are today. So yeah, I think, you know, yes and no is my answer.
Brilliant, great, good answer. And finally, what would be the best advice you could give to an 18-year-old you, if you could go back in time and do so?
So again, I think maybe a bit of a combination of all of those. You know, be open, be willing to learn. You know, certainly, and you know, advice I got when I was 18, which was don't pigeonhole yourself into something that you think, you know, is what you want to be now. So, you know, yes, you may have desires and ideas about, you know, where you want to go, but, you know, don't do that at the detriment of other things. That same thing, you know, being willing to make mistakes, to ask questions, and to kind of use that as a bit of a mentality. Look after yourself. You know, we touched on it there around mental health, and, you know, and working hard, but make sure there's a balance between the two, and enjoy it. I think it's the main thing. You know, we all do our best work when we're enjoying it. So I think, you know, if you can find something that you enjoy doing and, you know, gives you satisfaction, then, you know, crack on and give it a go. Brilliant.
Very, very sound words for anybody, I think. So thank you so much, Tom. It's been a real pleasure and delight. Really, really interesting and fascinating. And I love doing these interviews, because it's just amazing, not amazing, but great to see how many brilliant businesses there are right on our doorsteps. I mean, you know, your growth is quite phenomenal, and rightly so, clearly, from the work that you guys are doing to invest in the people that you have. So thank you so much for your time today.
Brilliant. Thanks for having me.
Cheers.